who has got their finger on the pulse of what the United States is saying? Or is that even possible given the divisions in the United States right now? Jacob, can you give us a thought on that?
Yeah, well, when you travel through the United States, you experience this sort of immediate cultural whiplash a lot of the times as you go from one place to another. But I think that everyone at the end of one thing that people reiterated to me over and over again is that everyone misses Walter Cronkite. I think people are longing for a sense of normalcy and a better sense of where they can find the truth, because everyone's lives have been sort of upended, and the relationship with media and the truth has been changed by this rapid change in technology, which I think I look at it as basically equivalent to the turn of the 1800s to the 1900s, where you had, one or two industries that just ran rampant for about 20 years. And then there were decades after that of sort of realigning our relationship with these new technologies and these new businesses. And so I think we're sort of at one of those cultural turning points where people may not agree, but everyone agrees that things need to change and something needs to happen. And I would like to say that I'm about an hour and a half out of Philadelphia, and my experience on Election Day was actually an amazing one of democratic unity, where there was I actually went out with a sign in my town, and I was across the street from the specific parties aren't important to the story, but I was across from a bar that was giving out free lunches to somebody who supported the opposite candidate of who I was supporting as a private citizen. And they came out and they offered me lunch, and they said, "We don't agree with what you're doing, but we agree that you have the right to do it." So I think underneath it all, people are longing for unity and are longing for a better sense of normalcy. And what you see represented on social media is often just a very distorted presentation from the most extreme voices.
Professor Harcourt, hearing what Jacob was saying there, Professor Harcourt from Columbia University, I'll put the question about that personality, Walter Cronkite. Do you miss Walter Cronkite? Do you miss that kind of unifying force that might have come through someone in my position as a TV presenter, a newsman?
Right. Yeah. Well, it was a security blanket, wasn't it? And there's no doubt that this idea of a more unified, consensual country is something that we all yearn for. But I think this goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is that really, Donald Trump has managed to turn this election, really, as a result of his 4 years in office, into a referendum about visceral politics of what I would call white nationalism. And I think we saw in this election the extraordinary turnout on both sides is a reflection of that. We might all yearn for a time of unity, a time of consensus, a time of Walter Cronkite, a time where we have this image of people sitting in front of the television and receiving the news and understanding and believing it and believing the same thing. But Donald Trump has changed all that. Now, and that is a feature that is unique to his political almost genius, really, to tap into those sentiments that drive the country apart. It's not pretty, but that's where we are. And in part, it goes back to the basic forces of politics. And I mean, this is a very interesting debate, but because of this, I mean, it goes back to the basic forces of politics, which are either, fear mongering and threat, which is a visceral, powerful force, and which Trump has played on immensely. Certain forms of utopia, belief, idealism, which he has managed to also kind of combine with that fear, with this idea of making America great again, or keeping America great, right? This very kind of ambitious idealism, right? And those are strong forces. He's managed to bring them together in this kind of partly hate-filled, but partly kind of utopian vision that has driven a wedge in this country. In part, it's reawakened one of the strongest forces in American politics, which is white nationalism, which was somewhat dormant